Welcome to Relationship Exposed. In today's video, I want you to imagine living your life thinking you know someone better than you know yourself, someone whose heartbeat you can almost sync your own with. You've built years together, stacked memories like bricks in a wall you thought would stand forever, and then, one day, without warning, you find a crack so deep, so sharp, that it doesn't just break the wall, it makes you question if the wall was ever real in the first place. That was my reality. For 15 years, I believed I was living the dream, or at least my version of it. I had a wife, Claire, who I thought was my partner in everything. We built a home, shared the quiet Sunday mornings and the loud family gatherings. I thought we had an understanding that love wasn't about grand gestures every day, but about the quiet loyalty, the way we'd instinctively look for each other in a crowded room. But loyalty, I learned, can be a one-sided vow. It started with little things that, in hindsight, were blinding red flags waving right in front of my face. But love has this strange way of convincing you that the smoke you're seeing is just a harmless fog, not the fire it's hiding. Claire became distracted. Her phone became a part of her arm, and she laughed at messages I never heard the punchline to. Her eyes didn't linger on me the way they used to. One evening, I came home from work to find her sitting at the dining table with our finances spread out in front of her. That wasn't unusual. We had always been open about money. But something about the way she closed the folder when I walked in, the way her smile felt painted on, stuck in my mind like a splinter. "Long day?" she asked, in that tone people use when they want to change the subject before it even begins. "Yeah," I replied, but my eyes were on the folder. "What's that?" "Just sorting through some bills. Nothing you need to worry about." She gathered the papers too quickly, like she was sweeping away crumbs she didn't want me to see. At the time, I told myself she was just handling things on her own, maybe even trying to surprise me by paying something off early. That's the thing about trust. You keep giving it, even when it's being mishandled, because the alternative is admitting the person you love might not deserve it. Weeks passed. The tension between us grew like invisible vines wrapping around our conversations, squeezing out the ease we used to have. And then came the night that shifted everything from suspicion to undeniable reality. Claire was in the shower when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have touched it, but this time I saw a name flash across the screen, one I didn't recognize. The message preview said, "Can't wait until next weekend. I need you." My stomach sank in a way that no human body should ever feel. My hands felt cold, my chest tight, as I stared at those words like they were written in another language I didn't want to understand. By the time she came out of the bathroom, I had set the phone back exactly how I'd found it. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I played my own waiting game. I needed to see the full picture before I made a move that would change everything. Over the next few days, I watched, I listened. I noticed how she smiled more when texting, how she guarded her phone like it was an extension of herself. And then, on Friday night, she told me she was meeting her friend Emily for dinner. I kissed her cheek and told her to have fun. The moment she left, I followed. It felt wrong, sneaking around like that, but I told myself I wasn't the one breaking vows here. I kept my distance, trailing her car until she pulled into the parking lot of a hotel, not a restaurant. My heart pounded so loud it was almost drowning out my thoughts. And then I saw him, a man in his late 30s, tall, confident, wearing that effortless smirk of someone who knows they're being desired. He opened the passenger door for her, and the way she looked at him, it was a look I hadn't seen from her in years. They disappeared into the hotel, and I sat there in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. 15 years of loyalty, of building a life together, and she was willing to throw it away for this man whose name I didn't even know. I didn't go inside. I didn't want to be that man, the one who storms into a hotel lobby and makes a scene. Instead, I drove home in silence, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me with every mile. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, replaying every conversation, every moment where I'd ignored my gut. The pieces started to fit together.
Her sudden secretiveness, the hidden financial documents, the unexplained absences. This wasn't a fling. This was calculated. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her with shouting or accusations. I was going to dismantle the life she thought she could keep me blind to, piece by piece. And that's exactly what I started doing. The silence after that night was almost worse than the confrontation itself. No slam doors, no shouting, no theatrics, just absence. His toothbrush was gone from the holder. The drawer where he kept his socks was empty, and on the kitchen counter sat an envelope with my name written in handwriting so steady it almost looked cruel. I stood there for 10 full minutes before I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded twice. No apologies, no justifications, no explanations about how we got here. Just a single sentence. You always wanted the truth. Now you have it. Live with it. I sank into the kitchen chair, the one he always sat in during our late-night tea talks, and stared at that sentence until the words started to blur. The days after his disappearance felt like living underwater. I still went to work, still smiled when people passed by my desk, but inside, every sound felt muted, every color faded. I kept replaying every moment of the last year, every argument, every time his phone died, every late-night text he claimed was work-related. It was like watching a movie I'd already seen but never understood until now. Then the messages started. The first one came at 2:13 a.m. from an unknown number. If you think he's the villain, you haven't heard my side. The second arrived 2 days later. He wasn't the only one keeping secrets. I wanted to block the number, but something in me, the same reckless curiosity that had driven me to dig in the first place, made me keep reading. Finally, the third message was different. It had a location and a time. If you want answers, meet me here tomorrow, alone. The address was a quiet cafe tucked away on a street I'd never heard of. When I arrived, my hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the strap of my bag just to keep them still. Inside, the air smelled of cinnamon and coffee beans, and there she was, the woman from his phone photos, the one he'd sworn was just a colleague. Up close, she wasn't what I expected. No flashy makeup, no calculated smile, just someone who looked tired, really tired. She gestured to the seat across from her. Sit, please. The story she told wasn't one I could have predicted. It wasn't some whirlwind romance that had stolen him away. It was years of buried family lies, debts he'd been covering without telling me, and a decision he'd made to disappear from both our lives, so neither of us would get dragged down. She slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's on here. You can decide what to do with it. But once you know, you can't unknow. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop, and there it was. Bank transfers, hidden letters, recordings of conversations I never knew existed. The truth wasn't simple. It never is. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a twisted kind of sacrifice that had cost him everything, including